This program brought to you by ACS. Think ahead, create the future, change the world. This is Swipe on Your Money.
Hello, I'm James Daggar-Nickson. Welcome to Swipe, the show designed to keep you up to date with all the latest and greatest in tech and products in tech. Coming up.
With Murdoch and Packer, you weren't losing something. It may have been controlled by a couple of players. But here, we just need to be very careful. We're not losing something that's pretty fundamental to society.
The ACCC calling for more transparency among the tech world's biggest players, recommending an investigation into the commercial arrangement used by digital platforms. Plus, we take you back to the old testing facility for the latest Swipe review, a stocking filler for even the pickiest of loved ones. But first, Australia's competition watchdog has called for a crackdown on the world's tech giants. The report details the need for a regulatory body with far-reaching powers to investigate and monitor powerful tech players. So should Google and Facebook be scared? Well, Your Money reporter Leo Shanahan has more.
Digital giants Facebook and Google could be forced to hand over data to a new digital super regulator, detailing how their advertising platforms work and what private information they hold on individuals. In a landmark report delivered by the ACCC this week, the competition watchdog has expressed fears over the dominance of Google and Facebook in the digital advertising market, pointing out the potential for market abuse and breach of privacy. The draft report, which was commissioned a year ago by then Treasurer Scott Morrison, looks into the impact of online search engines, social media and digital platforms on competition in media and advertising services markets. The report identifies concerns over the ability of key digital platforms to favour their own business interests through their market power and presence across multiple markets, and the lack of transparency in digital platform operations for advertisers, media businesses and consumers. The report finds that algorithms operated by each of Google and Facebook, as well as policies, remain opaque, despite almost 20 million Australians who use their search engines. Under the recommendations, Google and Facebook could be forced to hand over details of the algorithms to a new regulator to investigate possible misuse of power and manipulation of news searches.
While significant platforms, such as Google and Facebook, do not pay for media content, the platforms do benefit from this content, albeit indirectly, and in many ways could be seen as benefiting more from the content than the media businesses themselves that produced it. Further, it is quite interesting that companies that have traditionally not wanted to take responsibility for content are so influential now in what content Australians see.
An ombudsman could also be installed to cover disputes in the sector, as well as a focus on privacy and information collected and held on individuals.
There seems an understatement to consumers of the extent of data collection, if you read the policies, and an overstatement to consumers of the level of control consumers have over their personal data use. This imbalance of power manifests in click-wrap agreements with take-it-or-leave-it terms, which limits freely given consent, which is troubling given the market power of Google and Facebook.
But with the final report due in the new year and further consultation with the companies and the government required, it could be some time before the ACCC's ideas are realised, with all the time a continually shrinking Australian media market looking on. For Your Money, Leo Shanahan.
So what does it all actually mean? Well, for more on the ACCC interim report, in particular from the perspective of what are these tech giants going to make of it? I spoke earlier today with Foad Fadaghi, the Managing Director of Telsyte. Foad Fadaghi, really appreciate you joining us today. Look, just to start with, big news yesterday from the ACCC, this preliminary report into the likes of Google and Facebook and their market power. Look, your reaction to the recommendations and what came out?
Look, I think it's a little bit too early to determine what the actual recommendations might be. Clearly, these large multinational organisations have got a lot of market power. A lot of this power is sort of shifted over the years as well. You know, it's power that might have existed in other organisations. So it's going to be interesting to see how the authorities will deal with this power and indeed deal with the globalisation and the nature of globalisation that sits behind a lot of the power of these organisations.
Has the horse bolted a little bit in terms of regulation trying to catch up with these sorts of businesses and the dominance that they enjoy?
Look, it is difficult for regulators, given the circumstances, given the changing environment that they're operating in. However, I guess the fundamental reasons for regulation remain in place, and I believe that the laws need to change to adapt to the circumstances.
What do you think the likes of Facebook and Google are going to be thinking? I mean, at the moment, of course, it's just Australia with this preliminary report, but you get the sneaking suspicion that there's going to be other markets. Well, we already know the US looking very closely at this sort of stuff.
Oh, look, the US as well as the EU have both been looking at Google, Facebook and other large multinational organisations, looking at the kind of data that they capture on their users and how their businesses operate. And I think there's going to be some findings here in Australia that will no doubt be of interest to other regulators around the world as well.
I mean, would they be worried? You wonder about how much social capital, if you like, they'd have to try and vocally oppose any kind of tightening of regulation, considering the scandals some of them have had over the past couple of years.
I think that the key to it is that these organisations and the products that they have are so intertwined into how people in society live their lives. So any regulations that you might expect are likely to impact a lot of users, and therefore for regulators there needs to be some caution, there needs to be some time, there needs to be some strong consideration on what the new rules or any new rules mean for not just the multinationals but the millions, if not billions of users that these companies have.
Foad, can we talk 5G as well? Telstra announcing earlier this week that they'd secured 5G spectrum at the much anticipated auction. There still seems to be a degree or a divided marketplace as to how significant a change 5G is going to be from 4G. Look, your thoughts on just the impact 5G is likely or likely not to have?
You're absolutely right in thinking that there's two schools of thought. There's one school that says 5G is just a natural evolution. You're not going to see many new services and so forth. There's another school of thought that says that 5G might be quite revolutionary, might change the way businesses conduct their operations, the number of machines that they connect to each other, and indeed the data that they generate, and the new business models that they might be able to generate around this new data. So I believe that 5G is going to have a large impact on the market. You're probably going to see it having an impact within 2 to 3 years' time, not initially at launch. So I think we're going to have to wait a little while before we see the fruits of the 5G rollouts.
That's an important point, isn't it? I mean, the idea that suddenly a switch is flicked and everyone's enjoying a 5G sort of experience next year is far from it. I mean, we heard from, I think it was Apple just last week, saying they're not expecting to release any sort of 5G-enabled products until 2020.
I think it's going to become very important for manufacturers to bring out 5G handsets. Our preliminary research shows that around 1 in 3 consumers are actually holding off buying a new handset, waiting for the new technology to come out in smartphones. So for Apple, Samsung and other manufacturers, bringing 5G handsets out to market pretty soon is going to be quite important. And I think it's primarily from an investment point of view. If you think about consumers and the amount of time that they hold onto their smartphones these days, no one really wants to be holding on to an older technology phone once the new technology is out. So there will be a little bit of an impact, I think, on purchasing behaviour in the next 12 months.
Where are we at in Australia? I mean, we're quite well known for being early adopters of new technology. Just about everybody, it seems, has a smartphone, but you look at Apple sales, you look at some of the other handsets, and it doesn't look like on every new release you have this sudden rush. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen the big lines queuing outside of an Apple store in the major cities. Are we being more discerning in terms of when we spend the money?
I think what we're seeing is a fragmentation of the spend. While a few years ago it was all about smartphones or indeed maybe two-in-one tablets and computers, today you're seeing a vast array of technology products that are really capturing a lot of consumers' budgets these days, including smart home equipment, wearable computers and wearable devices like smartwatches are growing about 80% per annum for the last couple of years. You're seeing smart speakers really taking off in Australia despite some of the security concerns. So, you know, if we do look at the numbers in Australia, technology product sales are only skyrocketing and only growing right now, and this extends not just into physical products but into software sales as well, which includes gaming, and we know that gaming you know, has generated over $3 billion of revenue just in the last 12 months in Australia alone.
Is it the sleeping giant, or less so when you start mentioning those numbers? We've been speaking to a few people in the gaming world, and I don't think many people outside of it quite realise the growth and the magnitude of gaming globally at the moment.
Look, 1 in 2 households has a gaming console or gaming computer at home right now. Around about 50% of kids actually play some form of computer games, whether it's on their computers, smartphones and so forth. It's a massive market, and behind that you've got a massive scene developing in esports and various other supporting media such as Twitch TV and so forth. So it's one of those quiet achievers in the technology market that is really starting to blossom now.
Fad, we've covered it all today, from regulatory imposts potentially to tech titans to gaming and households. Appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Well, believe it or not, but Christmas is exactly 2 weeks away, and if you're like me, you probably haven't even started your Christmas shopping yet. Well, audience, this is your lucky day. We here at Swipe we've taken it upon ourselves to find the best stocking fillers for your nearest and dearest. So buckle up. This week we take you deep into the Swipe testing facility, where Santa's elves have been busy working away on the latest tech gadgets for under your tree, one of which is nostalgic tech. This offering from Fujifilm, the Instax Mini 90. We here at Swipe, favourite time of year, bar none, has got to be Christmas time. Absolutely love Christmas. So what better thing to be doing as we build towards Christmas is take a look at a few of the products that you might have under the Christmas tree, or indeed in the stocking. Now, one of those that may well be under the tree, particularly for a younger part of the audience, may be the Fujifilm Instax Mini 90 Neo Classic. This is the box that it comes in. I'll just get it out for you so you can take a little bit of a closer look. And as has been a bit of a trend this year, nostalgic tech, everything old again, is new again, and that certainly fits in with this offering from Fujifilm. Looks like one of those old school cameras. Functions very much the same way as well, in that the picture, once you take it, actually comes out the side, so you have that hard copy. Now, in terms of look, I like it. Very vintage, pretty clean, silver on black. Pretty light as well. In terms of the different modes, you've got your preset types of shots that you want to take, as far as one push, as well as a number of different modes that you just cycle through by pushing the mode button. In terms of switching on, super easy to use. Just flick the switch and away you'll go. So, who might buy this? That is a good question. It is probably for a slightly younger vintage than me. Maybe anywhere from your teens up to your mid-20s, and it's very much a bit of a party trick. In particular, as May mentioned, being able to get your picture as a hard copy straight away. So thinking about, well, this time of year, Christmas Day, Christmas parties, birthday parties, those sorts of things. The reason I probably wouldn't be using it as an everyday camera is simply the picture quality. It takes a lot to get a good picture on this, I'm afraid to say. In particular, it took me a long time to figure out how much of an impact overexposure was going to have. It's quite a tricky thing actually getting the right exposure with these sorts of cameras. We are so used to the technology in new cameras that pretty much do it all for you. There is an auto mode on this, which I would recommend people use, but in heavy light, you're going to get overexposed. The flash itself, very, very strong, so just be aware of that. And the reason I say be aware of that is, whilst the price of the camera itself, you're looking at paying a little bit under $200. Shop around, you can get as low as $160 up to around about $200. The sting in the tail though, the film. Now this is a 10-pack. You can get a 20-pack, you can get a 50-pack on average, so price per film, you're looking at paying anywhere between $1 to $2. Now, in a world where you can pretty much take unlimited pictures with a significantly better quality on something just in your pocket, your phone, the camera on these days are quite extraordinary. That's a pretty pricey penny to be paying. Excuse the alliteration. So bear that in mind. But still, it's fun to use. It looks good. It's a bit of a talking point. It's something to be taking pictures in around your family, but just keep in mind, the price of film is expensive and the quality of pictures not that great. But still, as I said, plenty of fun. So, out of 5, how many swipes for this? 3.5 swipes. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Swipe. Coming up, more Christmas fun with the Daily Telegraph's Matt Dunn.
And now, more Swipe on Your Money.
Welcome back to the program. Well, we here at Swipe don't want a lot for Christmas, but there is just one thing we need. It's the latest tech and gadgets underneath the Christmas tree. Well, long-time tech reporter and correspondent at the Daily Telegraph, Matt Dunn, joined us a little bit earlier to share his top picks for Christmas. So the countdown to Christmas is on. You've got some ideas as to maybe some potential presents under the tree. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so first up, the JBL Free X wireless headphones. So they're kind of like the Apple Buds that you put in your ear. So no wires or anything.
So not over the ear?
No, not over the ear. Little ones that you pop in your ear, no cord or anything. $199, made by JBL though, so the sound quality is just amazing.
So in your experience, wireless versus wired, is there a difference, do you think, in quality?
They say that there is, but I'm not the audiophile that I can't really, pick it up myself. And like for what I use them for, I want them for running and like to not have the cord there. Yeah. It's just a lot of time saving. The best bit about them though is 24 hours battery life. So they get 4 hours by themselves, and then they come with a little charging pack, which offers you another 20 hours. Fantastic. And it's quite quick to charge in there. You just put them in and you've got an hour or two straight up, which is really super easy if you want to go for a run or something.
So the JBLs, what else?
My favourite one is the PlayStation Classic. So,
yes, the nostalgic tech. I like this.
So they've sort of gone down, followed Nintendo, did the same, Sega did the same. $149, 20 games, which were classics from there. So you've got Tekken 3, Grand Theft Auto, the one from the helicopter view, Siphon Filter, just basically all the games that you loved when the first PlayStation came out. Looks the exact same, 45% smaller is the difference. But yeah, built the exact same. They even have the wired controllers, made to plug in via HDMI, so you can play it on any TV. And for $149 and the nostalgia, I think you can't really go wrong with that.
What age bracket do you think? I mean, do you have to have kind of gone through the PlayStation 1 to appreciate it, or do you think a new audience might sort of get into it?
This is the thing, right? Like, because I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But like, the games are obviously 20 years plus old, so the graphics are a bit dodgy, and I think it might be a bit of a tough sell for kids that have grown up like spoiled by the new generation consoles, 4K gaming, to say, hey, come back to this.
Yeah, Tekken 3.
Yeah. Ripper game, though.
What else do you reckon's a good go?
Cheapest one, Red Dead Redemption 2, the video game. $79, over 100 hours minimum, just like, that's for the story alone. I'm still playing it. I haven't got through it at all. And it's just, the open world is just, they put so much time and effort into it. You could play it forever and never get bored. Like, you ride around, you find little things, little hidden components. Looks beautiful, really fun to play, made by the people who made Grand Theft Auto. And they've just launched the online component of that. So not only do you get a single campaign, which is 100 hours, you've just got endless hours. It's set in the same open world environment that you can explore. Even better, you can jump in there with your friends, family, and verse other people. So
I remember speaking to you a few months ago about gaming and about what your favourite games were, and this had only just come out. So now that you've had an opportunity to play it longer, has it gone up in your view as your favourite games of the year?
100% game of the year.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm hooked. I'm so unbelievably hooked. My girlfriend comes home and I'm just always playing it. Can't put it down. The online component, not so much. It was a bit of a letdown because other players can kill you. So there's just trolls in there that sort of hide on a rooftop and then just keep sniping you.
That's rubbish, isn't it?
But that's online gaming, right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Now, this one's exciting. We're going to be reviewing this in 2019, but the Brew Art Beer Droid and Brew Float.
Yes. So essentially what it is, it's I guess the Nespresso of home brewing is how you would describe it. So you've got your brewing machine, which you fill with 10 litres of water, pop in the ingredients. They're called brew prints that you buy from them. But basically, it's all the beers you would buy in a store. So it's not
like a catalogue, right?
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, and it's got craft beers. It's got your well-known beers. It's sort of whatever you drink, it's there for it. And it's smart enough to sort of know what you're doing. So if you do a stout, it keeps the temperature right for what it is to do a stout. Same with a lager. You really can't make a mistake on it.
How easy is it? I mean, I don't know if you've done traditional brewing versus this. I mean, how different are they?
Yeah, so I've tried traditional brewing and people tasted it, hated it.
That's generally the response, though.
Yeah, because it's temperature controlled.
Yeah.
You've got to get it. You've got to be really clean and everything. And the same with this, but yeah, it's just sort of a lot easier. You pop it in, you press a button, it brews, and then it stays the correct temperature until you're ready to. You can either bottle it or you can either keg it, which is where the other machine comes in. So what you do is you do 2 5-litre kegs.
Yep.
You can basically just store them anywhere. You put one in the machine, and you've got beer on tap in your house, which is just the ultimate party trick.
Happy days. Particularly for Christmas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the final one as well, what are the latest offerings from Fitbit?
Yeah, so the Fitbit Charge 3, which is, for me, I'm not the fan of smartwatches. I like just a classic watch. Like, it's something that I just can't deal with. So this is made a lot thinner, a lot more discreet. The other ones kind of look like Apple Watches and things like that. This one, I think they've got that in mind for people that don't necessarily want that big, chunky thing. It does everything you want. It's waterproof. It automatically detects exercises. So if you start running, it picks up that you're running and records running. I ride to work and I'll get to work and it says, well done, 25-minute ride. Like, how does it know that I'm on a bike? How does it know I'm not running? How does it know I'm not in a car? It's very smart. Genius. Like that, yeah.
All right, so the final question then is, if you didn't have any of these, which one out of the 5 would you most like to wake up on Christmas morning with?
PlayStation Classic, has to be. Hands down. Hands down.
Matt Dunn, great as always, have you on board. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Matt Dunn there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I will hear from a couple of Australian winners of Apple's Best 2018 Awards. Stay with us.
We'll be back with more Swipe on Your Money. And now, more Swipe on Your Money.
Welcome back. Well, when Apple introduced the App Store all the way back in 2008, there were only 500 apps for hungry tech lovers to download. Fast forward 10 years, there are now over 2.2 million apps in the App Store made by millions of developers. Every year, Apple sorts through these apps to find the very best. And this year, believe it or not, 3 lucky Aussie developers have taken out some of the top gongs, beating games and apps from 155 countries. Developers from Tasmania, Melbourne and Adelaide won the iPhone App of the Year, Mac Game of the Year and TV App of the Year, respectively. Winner of the iPhone App of the Year, Savage Interactive, says the recognition is massive.
It's huge. A company like Apple, I mean, these guys lead the entire, technology industry. For those guys to recommend and endorse the work we've been doing, yeah, it's huge. It's massive.
But how did this Tasmanian-based award-winning app developer start?
It sounds a little cliche now, but we started in my spare bedroom. And we built from 4 people in the spare bedroom. We first saw a need for a professional level drawing application that would really set artists free from the desktop, because for the longest time artists have been just working either on an easel or at a desktop. And when Apple released the iPad, we felt we could develop a sophisticated, high-level, high-performance art studio that you could take with you wherever you go, a true mobile art studio. And so we started in the house and built that out, and after a few years we started getting some good recognition for the work we were doing, and we saw a lot of professionals start to take us on board. And then with the iPad Pro and Apple Pencil, we saw an explosion of professionals start to use this. So artists in Disney and Pixar started really picking up on what we were doing, and that transformed the business. So we started off in the bedroom, and now we're building in Hobart, 20 people strong, and working hard on the next chapter of what we're doing.
We also spoke to the winner of the Mac Game of the Year, Melbourne-based the Voxel Agents.
It's huge for us. Like, it's massive. We're a small team. There's like 6 of us worked on the game. It's a short story game, so it doesn't have like the viral spread of a game like Fortnite. So when Apple kind of picks it out to be their game of the year, it's kind of like a whole nother level of coverage that we just can't get, you know, and it's international as well. It's not just here in Australia. It's a pretty unique kind of game. When we set out to tell a story, we wanted to tell a story about friendship, where the player's not in direct control of events that are happening. So you don't actually control the characters at all in the game. You just control time. So the input's pretty unique. We tell all the story just through the art and the visuals as well, which are really kind of like captivating. But there's no text or dialogue as well. So we leave a lot of it open to the player's interpretation as they play through the game. So it's a pretty unique experience to play through this short story. And I don't think there's a lot of games like it at the moment.
Well, that is Swipe for this week. Don't forget you can catch up on the show anytime online at yourmoney.com.au. Also have a podcast. I'm James Daggar-Nickson. Thanks for watching.
This program brought to you by ACS. Think ahead, create the future, change the world.